This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Hey everyone, Tyler here to let you know that Southgate Media Group has a Patreon. That's right. Starting at just $5 a month, you get extra content for all your favorite podcasts on the network. You can listen to Patreon-exclusive shows, like This Week in Geek, hear interviews with the podcasters of the network. So just go to www.patreon.com/Southgate Media Group. We are constantly releasing exciting and new things.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to
the All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome to the Krypton Report. It is time, fellow listeners. I, Superman Tyler, the blue guy, with my partner in crime, the red Superman himself, Mr. James, I have large muscles and I'm B.A. Cole, are taking on the last 4 issues of All-Star Superman. We kind of took a month off. Just things didn't quite go as planned as I had thought. So But we have a special coming up here in July is our goal, where we're going to review the film as a crossover episode. So we wanted to go ahead and finish up the book. So we're jumping in here with issues 9 through 12. So strap on your Kryptonian garb and let's jump into episode 9, Curse of the Replacement Superman. Now, James, let me ask you a quick question. This is grammar related. If you were to say you were to meet, say, Brandon Routh and Tyler Hoechlin at the same time on the same day, were you meeting Supermans or Supermen? See, I got in a conversation because I'm like, it would be Supermen, right? Yeah, but their name is Superman, and there's more than one. If you walked up and there was me standing next to Tyler Hoechlin, it'd be Tyler's. So it's one of those fun things. People are probably going to message like you're an idiot, but whatever. Okay. So starting off, I don't know if we've commented on this. One thing I appreciate about this book is I like the layout, the simplicity of like the panel grids. Like the first one up here, we have the tent, something coming, crashing, the men running over, and then there's Superman, saying, "I'm sorry I startled you."
And clearly destroyed something.
Yeah. And then, the next page is...
Oh, no, that's the rocket he came in on. My bad. The rocket he came in on from Bizarro World.
Yeah, I had to go back. Yeah, Bizarro World. The chapter...
It's been a while since we read issue 8.
Yeah, it's been a while since I read issue 8 because when I reread this, if I wasn't reviewing, I would skip it. Because I'm not a Bizarro person. Though he has his moments, don't get me wrong. So we have Superman flying back to Metropolis. And he makes a comment about, "I hope I'm not too late to repair the damage caused by the Bizarro invasion." And the men say, hasn't he heard about the replacements? And then he sees that everything's been taken care of. And he says, it's the architecture like my native planet. And we see these like Kryptonian things orb looking around the Daily Planet. And we have Kent show up at work. It's been 2 months. And what do you think about his excuse for not being there, James? Or Perry's like, Kent, where you been? And he's like, 2 months. Wow. I got trapped in my bathroom during the Bizarro invasion with 3 unopened Thanksgiving baskets and the complete work of Shakespeare. Fortunately, Superman heard my cry for help. How does that make you feel?
Trapped in a closet.
Like,
yeah. I don't know. Just one of those ridiculous excuses that we've gotten from Superman for decades.
They're just like, what?
Yeah, I don't. That's just one of those things. In the movie, it almost makes more sense when he says he's trapped underneath
Like
jail during the cave-in, and there was a bunker or something, food and stuff.
Yeah, that makes a little bit more sense than three unopened Thanksgiving baskets. Okay, what was in your Thanksgiving basket, man? That sounds pretty dope. Even then, like, I don't know if it would keep for 2 months. So, anyways, Clark, lame excuse. Replacements, he sees the paper. We have a volcano. And we see people working on the volcano. They're standing inside the fire. We get a quick reference here that I missed the very first time I ever read this book, where he says to Lilo, "When did your eyes become green? They seem more dazzling than ever." They say, the powers they've inherited. This will be the capital of New Krypton. And then we have Superman showing up. And they're very like, "Did you hear something?" And Superman's excited to meet them, He says, "Bar-El and Lilo." Okay, so this is Bar-El. That's supposed to be a descendant or a relative of his? Why does he have a different crest on his, chest?
I don't know. I mean, the first astronauts from the planet Griffin space. But he only says for decades too. So
yeah, because they say, "I remember Jor-El, a young, ineffectual dreamer." So I mean, that's not too much of a time displacement, Like if they had been like past descendants of a distant time, it would have made more sense for the different appearances and everything. But the yellow and purple, and they're definitely snooty. I've always kind of liked the idea that the Kryptonian culture had gotten to the point where they had become very snobbish, very
feel absolutely superior.
And, that was part of their hubris that brings them down, and Jor-El recognized it in himself. Like, part of why, a lot of times they depict, the capsule was just big enough for the baby. It was for an infant, it was experimental. But, the idea that Jor-El and Lara couldn't go with him just because they still represented that past hubris, that society that needed changing, And I always kind of like that, because it seems like everyone you ever meet from Krypton is, except for Cal, and then sometimes Kara, like they've depicted Kara more, or Kara, more aggressive, is usually like this.
Well, I mean, it's extremely classist. Seen many depictions like on Krypton. Our rank, they have superiority in position of makes them feel superior and snobbish, that people are them. Which these characters very much do. Calling apes, calling humans primitive, subhumans.
Yeah, and I mean, what's crazy is this is the type of people they were becoming before they even got their power. It's funny because what was I listening to? I listened to episode of Digging for Kryptonite, and they were reviewing the Superman 2. And what was funny was they make the joke about it's funny because there's the line of dialogue from Ursa about look at them, they need machines to fly, and it's kind of like until about 10 minutes ago, so did you. Like you're acting as if you've always had these amazing powers,
right?
But that's not the case at all. So it's just kind of funny, you know. But anyways, there's this great line that Leela gives of, "You could have built a new Krypton in this squalor. You could have laid the foundation stones of tomorrow." And then Superman says, "That's not fair. What right do I have to impose my values on anyone?" And I think that's something big about the character. Not putting his thoughts, his beliefs on somebody. And then we have them back at the fortress with that big door with his crest on it. You know, this book feels, just as an overhaul reading through it, it feels very modern Silver Age, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if you were continuing the Silver Age for today, I feel like this is the book you would get. Even though this book is how old now?
Right. It still feels very modern.
Yeah. But anyways, continuing, they're in the fortress, and we see that they've pretty much taken over. They've replaced the statues of Jor-El and Laura with statues of themselves. They begin, you know, basically putting Kal down for not taking care of the people in Kandor. And they talk about making Krypton live again. They look at the Phantom Zone. They talk about even the criminals in the Phantom Zone. Where is it? Right here. Evidence more natural nobility than the greatest of the human apes. You should be ashamed. And, you know, Superman basically like, I hope that you would have been able to replace me, but I don't think you have the best interest of this planet at heart. And then, of course, they say, you betray your heritage. And they start fighting with him. And Superman's kind of getting whipped. And they fight. And I didn't catch this the first time. They basically throw him and crack the moon. Did you catch that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one of my more favorite parts of the story, and one of my more favorite parts of the film.
Mm-hmm.
It's when they throw him at Kraken. In the book, you know, in here we got them taking bridges, literally like all the planet's bridges, using them to staple the two cabins back together.
It's crazy.
Which is pretty insane. Looks like the moon's got a big scar across it.
Oh, hell, New Krypton.
It's interesting. I don't think I've seen it before. I saw something the other day of Man of Steel, because it's cracked on Krypton. Vision of the Earth terraform is cracked. Broke there as well. Never seen that before, so I have to check it out.
I have to check that out too. Thank you.
Well, because that's the Kryptonian moon Jax-Ur destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's destroyed on Krypton. Yeah, so very interesting.
That is very interesting.
But that's insane that they could throw Superman, his dense structure, to break. Yeah. That's one of the things in All-Star that makes it very silver. Powers are, the physics and the powers are just exponentially greater.
And I like that. I mean, I like when the powers are powerful. I recently.
Well, it's nice when you got Grant Morrison. Sorry to cut you off. It's nice when you got Grant Morrison, right? So these abilities that are basically godlike.
Yeah.
And but he writes Clark Kent so humble, and he writes his morality, the way he was raised, his goodness, so well and so down to earth. That's why his super.
I mean, I like his Superman. Don't get me wrong. It's just weird that the story. I don't know. Like I said, there's things in this that I like, and there's things I'm just kind of like, his Clark, I like how he's always clumsy, but every time he does something, it's like to save somebody. I think that's kind of cool.
Right.
I do think it's interesting. So we're back at the Daily Planet, and Jimmy is like wearing, basically Kryptonian-looking things. And it's like, why did it take Jimmy this long to decide to wear these over top of his like pants? Like, if he's Superman's best pal, I kind of feel like he would have been doing this before.
Right. Well, especially this Jimmy. Jimmy does all kinds of stuff, and other iterations Jimmy has as well. But yeah, his Kryptonian overpants belt count.
Now, I do like, if you look at the previous page, Superman has a bloody nose, and when Clark shows up here, he has a bloody nose. There's a very smooth transition continuity going on there. And then, of course, Lombard comes up, sets Clark on fire, and is laughing, and he causes Lombard's hairpiece to catch on fire. And then we have the two Kryptonians outside, and Clark kind of goes running and tells Jimmy to hit his signal watch. And they're talking to themselves, and basically, like, they can't believe he's hiding like he is there. And then Lilo starts to fall, and Superman catches her, and Bar-El lands hard, and he's trying to talk to them, and basically he uses his vision to see that while they were traveling, they were exposed, and their bodies are basically turning to kryptonite, the minerals in their bodies. And that's why he was so weak fighting them. Lilo goes blind, Bar-El goes blind, and Superman is still trying to help them. And basically he takes them back to the fortress. He's trying to help them. He says, "My Earth parents taught me respect for my elders. They're not all barbarians, Bar-El." Bar-El basically apologizes. You have a nice moment of Bar-El and Lilo saying they will do it together, and they're going to be basically deatomized and sent to the Phantom Zone. And Superman says, "The Phantom Zone will have some law and order at last." And then the last page is Lilo and Bar-El standing in the Phantom Zone looking at the Phantom prisoners.
Yeah, that I like the line.
So overall, what did you think of this issue?
I mean, it's one of my more favorite issues from the series, especially coming off of Zorro books.
Yes.
It definitely brings it back. Art Superman, hope that the replacements would be, that they would be good. That Bar-El good. The way he was raised, how it's not his. He can't there's no reason why it has to enforce his will.
Mm-hmm.
It says that he is a scientist's son, and that observes and learns, and not to interfere too much.
I think it goes to show you more and more that Superman as a character and as a person, he is one of a kind. He's not really finding anyone else that could replace him. Like, there isn't anyone, because he is unique as who he is.
Absolutely.
And that's part of his problem, is he wants to find somebody that could take over, and unless he kind of trains them, there isn't anyone that could just take over for him.
No, there's not. And that fact, stepping outside of the book, that's actually something that it's coming up very soon in our content. Getting on Super Son out.
Which is going to be so good, but we'll talk about that when it actually comes out. But we both are big fans of Tom Taylor. Now, for the most part, this issue 10 is my favorite for the most part. It has some very good parts in it, has some meta parts and some parts, but overall, I think this one's my favorite. I love the cover art kind of Superman with the world. So let's jump into episode 10, Never Ending. Now, I do want to say, like, this would be a very interesting if you could do it like a Superman miniseries, like a 12-episode miniseries, with each hour of the miniseries being, one of the books. Just because the way this is considered, they say episodes on it. It could be something really cool. It says 7:02 a.m. We have school bus. It looks like in Egypt. Superman at a children's hospital, talking to a nurse. She says, "I've never seen them so excited. God bless you, Superman. Your visits are some of them have to look forward to."
I think they took a bunch of sick trip to see.
That's what I thought. That's what I was going to say. That's what I thought it was too.
Yeah. That's
I love, like, we see him basically creating his last will and testament, but it's interesting that he's doing it in Kryptonian. It's being etched in a tablet by a machine that reads his thoughts. And all I can say is how awesome it would be if I could write by something just reading my thoughts.
Right. That would be amazing. I didn't really say about the cover art. It's this cover actually encapsulates this issue. So just what Superman is putting down, his last testament, and everything do for in this issue, it encapsulates the reverence he has. Just looking on her.
Yes. It also explains something that we'll get into in the issue itself. I do like the art of, like, Superman sitting on, like, the throne looking thing, looking so where the machine that he puts on his head to read his thoughts is almost like a crown. And you have this very weighted looking king. He's sweating. Something about his time running out. And then the next page is it's very interesting because I always have this, like, weird, like, love-hate with Kandor. Because it's still, like, it's a city that's still, like, surviving somehow in this bottle. Everyone's living and alive. I know in some depictions.
on Brainiac's, in some depictions on Brainiac's ship, he is responsible for the sustenance of all of the bottled cities.
Yeah, and some of them, they're like frozen in time.
Yeah, some they are.
I actually prefer that method. They're not miniaturized, they're like encapsulated and frozen. Because we have Dr. Quintum, and
Quintum, I believe.
Quintum, and he's being shrunk down and sent into the city to talk to them about a proposition they have. And so while that's going on, Superman has this interesting part where he's talking about, I had to know what a world without Superman would be like. So I had to create one. He calls it Earth Q. And it's like this square looking thing that's a complete universe without him. And I'm just kind of like, it's one of those things like if he has that ability to do that kind of science, there's a lot of other things I feel that he could have been accomplished. So it's like, how smart do you make Superman? You know, he's not supposed to interfere in some comics with human evolution or whatever, but at the same time, dude, just your presence being around changes humanity, period. You couldn't have cured cancer. Like, you can make a universe, but you can't, like, fix some sick kids. So,
right.
Just throw it out there.
A lot of that, yeah. I mean, there's stories like Superman say that in where he talks about trying to cure cancer. Can't stop things like that from happening. Yeah, we got like fire person, but he hasn't, cured cancer, done things like that. One thing that weighs on shoulders, that amount of power, is your all that you. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
And that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculously hard to think about, like what that would do. So.
Oh yeah, I mean it's already changed when life expectancy got long, less disease, just the human population as it is. Too much sometimes.
Yeah, and we won't go down that rabbit hole.
Exactly.
But then we see him like save a train, people talking, and we find out there's a giant robot running through the city. Superman die. It has Lois. He attacks it. We find out he's on some wild electronic goose chase for Luthor. It's barely a story, Superman. The guy has Alzheimer's. And basically, she puts herself in harm's way just because she wanted to see Superman. And one thing about this book that I'm not a fan of is just, there's some great lines that he gives to Lois, but all in all, like, their relationship in this book is, I don't know. I don't like it. It's weird.
They're hard to have both wed when tells her that it's Clark, that Clark is none of them, like she doesn't believe at this point right here. She's still sick, and like I told you, but
yeah, she doesn't believe him at all.
Yeah,
and the other thing is we found out that it was Dr. Quintum that told her that Clark was Superman. Gotta keep it straight. Is dying because of the solar radiation overdose, and he's basically like, "Sorry, it slipped out, Superman. It seemed wrong that you should bear this alone." And Lois like, "You can't die. I know you'll find a way out of this. Promise me you'll always find a way." One of the things that I like is this next panel, where it's back to him putting his last will and testament. And this the dialogue where it says, "As she spoke, I watched 30,000 dead skin cells scattering like confetti, like promises, like the dust of dead stars." And he says, "Our biology is completely incompatible. We could never have children, never have more than this. There's always a way. That's what you always say." And, as I read this, I thought more and more like how much of an Elseworlds tale this is that we're dropped into. I don't, we don't have any kind of before this story point, so their relationship is the whole history of this Superman. It's just kind of weird. We have this Dr. Leo Quintum that we've never seen or anything till this book, but he's so important to Superman. But the next page, because we hear Superman hears a bunch of different things, it says, "I have to go, Lois. Someone needs me." The next page is probably the best page in this single book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In a single book, like any single book, which and we kind of went over it is when he stops the train. Here's in the next panel down. There's a guy on the phone. I got held up. No, don't put the phone down. Just stay in the apartment. Have to leave.
Yeah, I was going to jump back there, but yeah, good call. Yeah.
Well, okay.
See, that's why James and I work together.
Well, I knew we were coming up to it too, so I wasn't going to let it slip before we got there.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to till we got to the page, just because there's all that other stuff that happens in between. If you're not kind of reading the flow of it, you could get lost. But we have this girl on top of a building. In the first panel, she drops her phone. She's standing there. Eyes are closed. And the next panel is the same thing, but Superman's behind her, and he just says, "Your doctor really did get held up, Regan. It's never as bad as it seems. You're much stronger than you think you are. Trust me." And then she's just crying in his arms. I really wish that this was more, like another page or something. Just I think it's just super powerful, and it's one of the elements of this particular episode that I like.
Well, this paid series panel, people have posted comments on how much it's helped them when they felt in the same place as Regan.
Exactly. And that's why this book is my favorite part of the whole thing for this one page. These 5 panels of pure Superman perfection. The next page is the Kandorian council, and we have a special team. We 5 of the Kandor Emergency Corps have a plan to save him. You will lead us as you once did Van Z. Now, we see Superman repairing the bridges. Then we see Earth Q. At 11:59 p.m., the people of Earth Q are doing cave paintings. 3:27, Superman is basically breaking down he's looking at his hand, breaking down his DNA code. The next panel is Earth Q. It's now building tools and statues. And the last panel starts another great part of this book where he says, "You won, Luthor. I'm dying. The world is yours, at least for the 3 weeks you have left before your execution." Superman says, it's not too late to put that brilliant mind to work. Lex, I know there's good in you. And they kind of are staring at each other. Lex spits on the glass. Earth Q now has philosophy.
We talked there. It's the thing that we've seen from there in the past. He believes that Superman is holding back, and that they would be better without him. All the things Sid would have done to finish I had been today. Yeah, it's really good. It helps to show he really is.
He just made up
still
the
doesn't
excuse.
benefit. Yeah, he just needed the excuse for not being everything that claims to be.
Or an excuse for the reasons why he didn't do it. You know?
Well, he didn't do it because it didn't benefit him.
Exactly. Now, Earth Q has philosophy and intelligence and talks about paragons. Then we see Superman with this orb. And I'll be honest right here, I didn't quite understand what was going on right here when I first read this book. Did you?
I mean, the character in the globe looks kind of reminiscent of the other Bizarro character, the anomaly there, but he didn't talk like that. He talked and so no, I don't know what this was about. Except the fact that it's a solar intelligence system that's been preparing for Solaris. It's literally all I got from it. Not sure where it comes from.
Yep, it's okay. So we're both lost. Awesome.
Okay.
See, that's exactly my point. Sometimes with Grant Morrison's writing is you're like, huh. And then, so 11:20 p.m., my 8th challenge is on its way, almost completed, my new costume. And then, basically, we have 4:30 p.m., Dr. Quantum and Superman are on Mars. He says, here they'll be as powerful as I am, but still far enough away from human culture to allay the fears of Counselor Zora and others like her. Why didn't I trust them enough to ever think of this? He says, these remarkable people outlived the planet Krypton. They maintained the best of their culture in urban sink conditions that would have driven an Earth population insane.
I'm thinking of something else, aren't I? Maybe Superman Unbound shrinks Kandor.
Yeah, he tries to in that one.
Okay,
he's in Kandor.
So I seem to think I recalled in this book that he unshrunk Kandor, but it doesn't look like it's the case. It's like unbottles Kandor on Mars because Kryptonians survive there. And then with the power they get from the sun, but they're still so small.
Mm-hmm. And they talk about more about Superman talks about more about his DNA and how they tried to clone him and it's never worked. And he said, you told me you've always been frustrated by your inability to read my DNA code. Are you saying you entrust the responsibility of your genome to me? I could be the devil himself for all you know, Superman. And he says, I'd like to think I'm a better judge of character than that professor. I finally copied the entire 8 billion letter sequence into a book, along with instructions on how to combine human and Kryptonian strands. This is how much I trust you, Leo. So right there, okay, and this part right here goes back to the earlier parts that we saw, where he's using his looking glass thing, and he's talking to Cal Kent of the future, and Lois makes the comment of how he looks like her grandpa or something. And then we have the other time traveling Supermen when they're at Smallville.
And they're descendants of him. Well, inside the vials, one of them has S-Shield, and then the other one has Brown S-Shield.
Exactly.
In an early issue.
and that's how his descendants have Lois's family in them. Now, on Earth Q, we have philosophy. Basically, it looks like kind of Nietzsche. Behold, I teach you the Superman. We turn the page and we find out that 6:45 p.m. that those Kandorian Special Forces people are inside him, literally fighting his blood cells. He
Fighting
says,
to keep his white blood cells together.
Yeah, he says, even with our incredible speed and stamina, we still can't prevent your white blood cells from committing suicide. After all you've done for us, we failed you. And he says to him, he says, I didn't think you'd be able to save me, but human diseases would be no match for your knowledge and power, am I right? Microscopic Kandorian super doctors could cure anything. And we see him back at the children's hospital. And he says, I brought some friends to meet you. And like he opens his hands and they come flying out. And my line is, I just dropped by to tell you all I might not be able to make it next week. But don't worry, you'll all be going home long before that. So I was like, that's awesome. Curing sick kids? There you go, Superman. Finally.
Yeah. Well, also it's kind of, it's a tad different, you know. He's got these people here to save maybe not everybody, but certain
the kids from the beginning of the book.
Yeah. But they could literally go in and like microscopic surgery destroy any of the harm cells from disease, cancer cells metastasizing, that type of stuff.
And then the last page is where it's super meta. It's 11:59 p.m. on Earth Q, and we see an office building. It says, I really think this is it. The third time, lucky. This is the one. This is going to change everything. And it's them drawing the original Superman. So, yeah.
The Superman created the world where Jerry Siegel, Joe Shuster invented Superman.
so we basically live in Earth Q.
Yeah. That's what it seemed.
Yep. And then we see him finish up at 11:49 p.m. He says to Clark Kent, I leave you the story of the century, the headline of the century. And then it's Lois looking at her computer and says, Superman Dead by Clark Kent. And then episode 11, Red Sunday. So this one starts with Luthor being executed in the electric chair. We have people taunting him and talking to him. They flip the switch. Luthor doesn't get killed. All of a sudden shoots out heat vision. Stops a bullet. Breaks down. And we cut to Superman in the fortress. We see, him with his robot. He's weak, and he's talking to his robot about just the care of the fortress, about all those things that he's done. We get a Batman reference, which I thought was interesting. He talks about staying alive long enough to complete his final tasks. And he goes, he's quoting Lois where he says, there's always a way. And he's like taking his shirt off because we have his new costume. But this is what I thought was interesting, just going back to before. Lex has this weird niece that's definitely just out of nowhere. He comes crashing in. And he says, I have his superpowers for 24 hours. The serum I could have invented. How's your mom? Mad at you. Blah, blah, blah. She says, when do I get some serum? He says, the day I can trust you with the family car keys. So we see their plan. We see how quickly Lex is building robots. And he goes out into the outside to find that, like you said, Solaris, who's been working with Luthor, turns the sun and the skies red. And Superman's putting on his special new white suit. And it's kind of cut back to the final will and testament that we had seen previously. And then we see that all of the robots, but one, is coming with him to fight Solaris. He tells them what frequency to put down, to adjust. And they go flying to take it down. You know, he says, Solaris is basically like, you'll never be powerful enough in my red sun. And he says, when you are dead, I will replace the sun in the sky. And all the robots are getting destroyed and they're fighting. Superman brings out his Sun Eater. You know, that awesome pet that he had in the fortress. And he's punching Solaris as the Sun Eater is wrapped around it. Solaris blows up the Sun Eater. And Superman's like, you killed him. And just starts punching it. Meanwhile...
Yeah, that makes it very...
Meanwhile, in Metropolis, Lex's niece is rolling out in some sort of tank thing. Solaris crashes down. And, you know, Superman makes this really interesting... He says, by the 24th century, I'm told you'll have been rehabilitated to work with humanity instead of against them. Rehabilitation begins here, Solaris. There's a way to everyone's heart, and I can see yours. Solaris says, mercy. He says, you'll live. And then, I guess he punches it, because we see like a mushroom cloud, and then the color of Solaris has changed. It went from being like red with blue to now being like purple with blue. And then, basically, we have Lois and Jimmy kind of talking with Lex's niece. Today is the first day of the new world. She's trying to be all meta cool about how passé print is, all this. Superman comes flying to the Daily Planet, comes running in his Clark. So I got tomorrow's big headline. I wrote the whole thing. Clark passes out, and then Lex shows up, flying, wearing... I actually like Lex's suit right here. But I feel like this issue, episode 11, it's pretty like heavy out there. And I feel like the connective tissue, we find out about how Solaris has kind of been helping Luthor, and Luthor's plan, you know, is very like lightly connected. You know, we find out Luthor reprogrammed the robot to get him the serum and all this stuff. We'll find out. I just feel like, wow, it's like really heavy that I'm almost like, huh. I didn't feel like I was invested in really understanding and grooving with the story. It felt disjointed.
Right.
Like I wasn't.
I mean, as a single issue, it does.
Like I feel like you have to read this whole thing in one sitting to really enjoy it. To appreciate.
I mean, that's kind of how the overall narrative is. There's a few issues that are kind of like almost one-off.
The Bizarros.
Like, Bizarros, issue 9, the RL.
So
issue 10 is kind of like that because it doesn't have an antagonist.
Nah, but I like issue 10.
Yeah, but it's a really
build-up.
good issue. Yeah, it is.
Because issue 11 and 12 are like one big chunk.
Yes, they are.
So issue 12, Superman in Excelsius. And this I think is neat. We get this kind of one of those where it's like, so Clark has passed out the Daily Planet. And basically it's one of those, he's subconsciously like talking to his father about, oh, surrender and come with me. but you have to go back and fight evil. Here's the choice is simple: to remain at play within the fields of living fluid consciousness, or to turn and face down evil one last time. And then we have Luthor tearing up the Daily Planet, and Clark is on the ground. My favorite part is, Lois is trying to say, I know what the powers are like. And then he tells Jimmy to turn off that watch because Superman's not coming. And obviously it's irritating him. We go back to Jor-El and Cal. And, Jor-El makes a statement about, and be reborn. And we now we're back at the Daily Planet. I do like Lombard's kind of confession, like apologizing to Clark for always treating him bad. And, Luthor uses his super breath and knocks down Lois. And of course, that's what pops Clark awake. Jimmy tries to fight Lex. And then Clark, I do think this is cool, where Clark sits up and is like, there's me, Lex. I think maybe you should stop threatening my friends. And he says, Kent. So the worm grows a spine to impress the girl. What is that? What's that you're trying to hide? And he's like, this. It's a gravity gun. And he hits him with the gravity gun. And then this is what's funny is everyone is still in denial that Clark Kent is Superman. Because I knew it. Didn't I say he was too buff to be Clark? And he says, and he just stands up, takes off the glasses. Thanks for noticing those extra hours on the Stairmaster, Cat. We always keep a spare. Nice disguise, Superman. I guess you've been keeping the real Clark in your fortress all this time, right? Clark's safe, Jimmy. I'm just kind of like, so how do you explain Clark's gone when you die, Superman?
Right.
I'm like, and then Luthor's on the ground.
Well, I mean, if everybody's going to believe that it's Superman impersonating, when they're both on at the same time, have no choice to believe.
They'll be like, nah. But we have Luthor on the ground. He's like, Kent? No. That's an amazing idea. I should be writing these. And Luthor gets hit by a security truck. Luthor, using his powers, starts fighting with Superman. He said, Superman, do you ever think it would end with me looking down on you like this? And Superman's like, as a matter of fact, I had the whole thing paced out to end pretty much exactly like this, Lex. Luthor comes down. He says, as you know, I've had to confiscate some galaxy's deadliest weapons. See how you're working 50 times harder just to stay in the air? That's not why I chose the gravity gun. So they start fighting, and Luthor is basically like, you die, if I die, you die. They go through a train. Luthor basically knocks out Superman, drags him out so everyone can see, starts proclaiming everything to the world about his superiority. Then, then at the end, Lex is like, Lex has a breakdown. And I thought this was kind of reminiscent of kind of how we have this very interesting way things end in the reversal of, like, say, Red Sun, where he has the letter, with the words that stop Superman, where Lex just starts breaking down, and he says, it's so obvious. I can actually see and hear and feel and taste it, and the fundamental forces are all yoked by thought alone. It's thought controlled. I can actually see the machinery and wires connecting and separating everything since it all began. He's like, this is how he sees all the time, every day. It's just us in here together. And Superman's basically, no, he's trying to tell you how the gravity I can't even talk, accelerated his metabolism, and it's burning through his serum, and his 24 hours are up. And then this is where you get the Superman punches Lex, and he goes to pull out his other vial, which Superman has in his hand. And Lex says, I saw how to save the world. I could have made everyone see it. I could have saved the world if it wasn't for you. And Superman punches him. And almost like he breaks his neck of how hard he punches, and that, just the way Luthor looks in that panel.
Yeah. It almost looks like he put his head on backwards like Doomsday.
Exactly. And then Superman says, you could have saved the world years ago if it mattered to you, Luthor. And that's like what you were saying. Lois runs to Superman. And once again, I feel like this Lois, why I don't like it is she just doesn't listen to him, is in complete denial of everything that's actually going on. Superman says, it's strange. If he hadn't fatally overdosed me with sunlight, I wouldn't have had the power to attempt this final feat. No one but me can repair the sun, Lois, because Solaris betrayed Luthor and turned the sun blue. So that should be taking a bigger toll on Earth right now, but whatever. He says, my cells are converting to pure energy, pure information, and I only have moments to save the world. That's more than you ever needed. I love you, Lois Lane, until the end of time. I love you, Superman. We see him flying. Lois is holding his cape. He's going at the blue sun, and what's neat is when he connects with the sun, it starts turning yellow. Then we kind of, I guess, flash forward a little bit. And it's Lois in the park with Jimmy. Jimmy has a rocket pack. The first time I read this, I didn't notice that, and I was like, wait, what? So this time I was like, okay, Jimmy, smooth. And,
well, Jimmy becomes the Rocketeer, don't you know?
I mean, that's awesome. This is where I say, Lois is just kind of she's like, it's been a whole year since he disappeared, and thousands of people just turned up to pay their respects. Lois like, Superman's not dead. Some people believe it, but I know he's up there building an artificial heart to keep the sun alive. He'll be back when he's done, Jimmy. And when he's done, he knows where to find me. And then there's that image of Superman in the sun pulling the mechanical bar. And I'm just like, I don't like that, Lois. It's one thing to feel hopeful, but another thing is just feel like she's oblivious. She doesn't really know what happened or what's going on. And then the last page is we're back on Dr. Quintum's lab, and he's talking to his assistant. And what if Superman never returns? What then, Mr. Quintum? I wouldn't worry too much about that day, Agatha. Now that he knows how it's done, I'm sure we'll think of something. And it says Project 2, and it's the Superman shield with a 2 in it. And he's going to clone Superman. But like we said, Superman is who he is as a person, not just the powers. So, I mean, that's the end of the book. It's good, but I still feel like it's overrated. There's things I like in it. There's little parts. I mean, I think some of it, some of it's in there, and I feel like it just wastes time to the overall story. It's like you're trying to tell multiple stories. If you would have focused maybe more on just the Superman, Lois, and Lex story. But I feel like you go in and out of so much, and then you have other things that just happen for really no reason that feel like each issue is supposed to be a different challenge. But then we go into where we have 2 issues connect. I don't know. There's parts I like, and there's some I just feel like the storytelling got so abstract, you forgot what you were reading about. The whole Solaris thing feels like it comes out of nowhere, but they try to tell you that he was there helping Luthor all along.
Right. Well, I mean, there's so much out of books, like so much science fiction. Back 6, got all different Superman. Got Superman Fifth Dimension, the Unknown Superman.
Right.
You know, and it's time travel. It's actually Superman back to be able to spend that time with his father when young and fought his dad die, and then get Superman Prime, that Superman at the end of the issue.
He's with Optimus Prime.
Who is this Superman? Superman followed one son. It's him from when Grant wrote 1 million, which I haven't gotten yet.
Yeah, which I've read, but I don't really remember. And it's to say Grant Morrison's a brilliant writer, but I think sometimes he's so smart that sometimes we're like, whoa, hold on, man.
Right. Well, there's talk that all the Superman that he writes is connected in some way across time.
It's kind of like how Scott Snyder's Batman is like connected to everything under the sun. Like his Batman stories are all connecting, even though they breach in and out of continuity. They're all like his Batman.
Mm-hmm. So it's like the T-shirt Superman starts at the very beginning of his career is the same Superman in 1 million years is old Superman Prime. Save, change the sun back, that other stuff.
Yep. So that is Superman, All-Star Superman, and I'll let the listeners.
I mean,
dear listeners,
you have to read it. Have to read it, and that's it. Some people see Grant Morrison's name, they pick it up. Some people see Grant Morrison's name, it'll automatically make them pick it up. So, just it's definitely a must read, even if you just read it once.
Oh yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
You have to read it at least once to say, I did it. Here's my thoughts on it. This is how I feel about it. And that's it, like that's where you end it. Because, all honesty, that's all we can do. But closing thoughts, James, anything else you want to throw in there before we head on out of here?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, definitely just got to read it. Somebody, it's a must read at least once. I enjoy it. It's not something I go back to read over and over again, but I'm glad to have read it again for our reviews, and pick up things that I didn't recall before, like the part of the issue with Varel where he talked about her eyes getting green. It's a hint at the kryptonite poisoning that they have.
I agree. I like it enough to read it every now and then, but it comes back to I get tired when people think this is the greatest Superman story there is. No, not to me. And next month, dear listeners, we are going to be doing the review of the All-Star Superman movie, which I have not watched in a while. I just remember watching it, I think when it first came out, and being like, this is okay. And just thinking like, wow, like there's a lot I felt they left out. I will be revisiting now that we finished the book. We're going to do a crossover with our friends Ray and Connor over at Last Sons of Krypton, and was it last year? They reviewed the book. So you might want to check out their podcast to hear their thoughts on the book before we kind of dive in and talk about the film. So from us here at Krypton Report, like we said, read All-Star, let us know what you think, and remember.
Hey, it's Tyler. I just wanted to say if you're enjoying the Superman podcast, check out some of our other favorite Superman-based podcasts. We have The Inspiring Kryptonians, The Last Sons of Krypton, a new one that I discovered called Digging for Kryptonite, which is a great podcast, as well as my good friend Zach over at Always Hold On to Smallville, Luke, Bug, the Geek of Steel at the Geek of Steel podcast, and of course my brother from another mother, Mr. Phil Parrish, over on Capes and Lunatics, who is the master of all things podcasting. So just check those out and enjoy.
Do you enjoy listening to Southgate Media Group podcasts? Well, I know I do. And do you want to help support the shows? Well, the great way is you can help support the shows without having to give any more money. Just go to southgatemediagroup.com. There's a link at the top to log into Amazon. Just log into your Amazon account, shop like normal, and part of everything that you buy goes back to help Southgate Media Group. It's simple, it's easy, and you're just doing the same thing that you usually do by buying stuff on Amazon.
Look